My name is Dr. Temilola Apeno. I welcome you all. I can see some people are saying no audio. No, I can't hear, okay? No audio because I muted myself. So now you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I want to share my screen. So, can you see my screen? Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, our topic today is meaning and relevance of philosophy.
I'm on Zoom.
Please, if your background is noisy, mute yourself, please. We don't want this class to be disturbed. Meaning, what is the meaning of philosophy? I want somebody to quickly tell us what is the meaning of philosophy? What do we mean by philosophy? I'm waiting. Please, if you want to talk to us, unmute yourself. Hello.
Okay, yes, Prince is my name. To my understanding, I would say that philosophy is a branch of knowledge that explores fundamental questions about knowledge, about reality, about morality, purpose of life, etc.
That's right. Does anybody have a different opinion about that? Any other opinion about philosophy? Okay. It is the totality of a person's fundamental beliefs and conviction. It is a matured attitude and right perspective of life, a method of reflective thinking and reasoned inquiry, logical analysis of language and clarification of meanings of words and concepts. That is what philosophy is. It has to do with every aspect of human life. So there are three modes of philosophy. We have the speculative mode, we have the prescriptive mode, we have the analytic mode. I want somebody to briefly explain the speculative mode.
My name is Marvelous Imamiyo.
Okay.
Speculative mode is a thinking pattern of things that exist.
Is a what?
The thinking pattern about things that exist, the way we think about things, the knowledge of things that exist.
Okay. Any other person on speculative? Any other person on speculative? Nobody. Speculative is wholesome view, a general view, general application of a person's view to all matters, to see something in totality. That is speculative. What of prescriptive? Prescriptive mode.
Prescriptive.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the means of knowing both good and bad, both beautiful and ugly, and how to relate with it, sir.
Okay. Any other person? Speculative is, like she said, knowing good and bad, difference between good and bad, being able to differentiate between qualities. Don't let us just say between good and bad. Being able to differentiate between qualities. It recommends principles for the best and explain why. Okay, this is the best and this is why it is the best. That is the prescriptive. It prescribes accurately. It selects, it recommends, and it states the reason for the recommendation. Then we have the third one, which is the analytic. Is there anybody that wants to explain the analytic to us? Anyone? Anyone? Anybody? Analytic focuses on words and meaning. It focuses on words and meaning. It is the ability or the inclination to separate things into their constituent parts in order to study or examine them, to draw conclusions or solve problems. So the philosophy of education. What is philosophy of education? What is philosophy of education? Yes, you people don't want to talk at all. What is philosophy of education? Anybody there? Anybody? Should we end the class?
We are here, ma. We are here.
Hey,
We
you
are
don't want
listening
to
to
talk
you.
now.
We are listening to you, ma.
Okay. To my understanding, I would say that philosophy of education actually seeks to address or talk more about issues relating to teaching, learning. Then we have educational policy, we have curriculum development, we have goals and values of education. So philosophy of education addresses all these issues relating to education.
That's good. Does anybody have something to say again on philosophy of education? You see, philosophy of education examines the goals of education, the forms, the meanings of education. It scrutinizes every aspect of education. The aim is to perfect. The aim is to, to put across to learners, to put across to learners the real thing. It examines the totality of education and put across to the learners the way things should be. It explains the way it should be to learners. It breaks down. So what is the relevance of this philosophy of education? What is the relevance of philosophy to education? Hello, what's the relevance of philosophy to education?
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma. It encourages critical examination of issues. It also helps the teacher with the ideas that are required for educational things like learning and the things that he needs to base his course on.
It also gives more weight to the validity or soundness of arguments than to the authority. It looks critically into matters, into goals, rather than what the law says or rather than what policymakers says. It examines things critically. It makes us to keep open-mindedness. When you are aware of the truth, when you know the truth, you will be open. It is only lies that have different shades. Truth has only one shade. It exposes you to the real thing, to the correct matter, to the truth. It makes us to be rational human beings. You think straight. So rational activity, philosophy can be seen as a rational activity because it helps to scrutinize our beliefs, to do a self-check on the correctness of our action. What I want to do, what I'm thinking about, the opinion I'm holding, is it correct? How correct it is? How does it, concern people? How is it fair to this, situation? It helps you to examine critically what you feel. So what is equality of educational opportunity? What is equality? We have talked about philosophy. We have talked about its relevance to education. Now, what is equality of education? What is equality of education? Yes, Nungala.
Yes, ma'am. Equality of education simply means having a balanced form of educational system.
Are you sure?
I mean, having a balanced form of educational system in which everybody would be able to have equal right, equal procedure of education, and everything is going to be balanced. Not that people that are having, for instance, those that are in distance learning should have the same educational ability and benefits as those that are in normal university system, normal conventional university.
Okay. Having equal opportunity, equal everything. You can lower your hand now. So each individual, equality of education opportunity says each individual should receive equal share of educational opportunity, to treat children of the same measure of ability the same, regardless of their environmental factors. Positive discrimination in favor of educational underprivileged children with the sole aim of remediating the educational lag of disadvantaged children. So everybody should have equal access, regardless of where they come from, their ethnicity, regardless of their religion, regardless of their status, their parental status. So that is what equality of education means. So now we say, oh, where is this one like this? What are the factors responsible for inequality of educational opportunities? What are the factors and how are these factors responsible? The first factor is family background. How does family background responsible for inequality of educational opportunity? Nungala.
Yes, family background affects quality of educational system in the sense that when the family does not see the relevance of education, they tend to deprive the children of that right. Another form is when the family believe that female student, for instance, female child does not deserve to be educated. Rather, the male child should be the one having that educational system. It can also affect quality of education.
Thank you. Omamuyo, we.
Well, to me, family background can affect in respect of when the family is very poor. There's some people that cannot even afford to eat, not to talk of training a child in the school. So that can affect the educational training of that child. Another is the environment, especially those in the rural areas that don't have access to quality education. It will be difficult for them to have access to education equally with those in the Umba areas. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. America, want to say something? Oh, she has suddenly gone away. Okay, family background has to do with family upbringing, family belief, family status. Do they believe in education? Do they have the means to send the child? You know, if they don't have the means, are they ready to sacrifice some things to send the child? You know, like the first speaker readily said, some families believe that only male children should be sent to school. That female children don't need to be sent to school because they will get married. On the other hand, some want to send both male and female, but they don't have the capacity, the financial capacity to send those children. So the opportunity, the opportunity that some children from comfortable family has, the children from poor background will not have such background. And it also has to do with the exposure of the family. Some families have many educated people, so they see education as something essential. Meanwhile, some people, illiterates are many there, so they don't see reason. They will even tell you, when you read the book, what are you using it to do? There is no money there. How much is your salary? I've seen a market woman who did not go to school, but having a business growing, who told someone that the money you will earn in a month, I can earn it in a day. You know, forgetting that business can nosedive. Anything can happen. And also forgetting that education cannot be compared to anything. It is permanent. When you have it, you have it. You can, if it's not, it doesn't bring money to you today, if it doesn't bring fame to you today, it can tomorrow. You know, so people tend to think the way their background, they think in relation to their family background, and they act as well the same way. So financial status, we have slightly talked about financial status under family background. The financial capability of a family determines what the children of those family enjoys concerning education. For instance, when a poor person has a child in school, he will struggle to pay school fees. So there is nothing like toys. But a rich person will pay school fees comfortably and will also buy educational toys for the child. Not only toys, educational materials. that school will not provide. Such parents will provide it. Let somebody talk about academic status of parents. How is it responsible for inequality?
Okay, academic status. I believe those who their parents might not be well educated, so their knowledge about education or their own philosophy about education would surely affect their children. You may hear things like, school is not all there is, or going to school doesn't guarantee, or there's no need for going to school. Okay, the family business of carpentry, come and continue. So their own philosophy, definitely being uneducated, will definitely tell off on that child, even in the behavior of that child, even if that child is given some form of opportunity to actually get some degree of education.
Correct. What of age? How is age responsible for inequality in educational opportunity? Let somebody quickly talk to us about that. Age. Nobody?
Okay, sometimes we find some parents sending their children off to school at an age that is still tender in the sense that the child is not psychologically ready for that class. So when the child gets to the school, the pace at which the child is assimilating will not be the same with the older children. So you find out that the child is not equal. He doesn't have a balanced idea about learning, so he cannot think critically, and then sometimes he might even be bullied because he gets to class and he sees children that are older. So the child is the one that suffers at the end of it all. So the age of the child, it can also be a factor.
You are very correct. Just few weeks back, I saw a family friend who took her children from grade 4 to grade 7. Can you imagine? From grade 4 to grade 7. The children skipped grade 5, they skipped grade 6, and we are not even sure that they coped well in that grade 4. They took them to grade 7. You want to tell me that those children will cope in that level, in that grade? You want to tell me that they will perform the way a child that passed through grade 5 and grade 6 will perform? Obviously, no. Except if they are geniuses. They are geniuses, So age is very important in education. There is what we call mental age. There is what we call chronological actual age. The mental age and the chronological actual age must go in pari passu for a child, must go together before a child can have a good intelligent quotient. So to determine intelligent quotient, we have to consider the mental age and the chronological actual age. If it goes together, or if the mental age, it's always better if the mental age is higher than the actual age. That is when we say a child is a genius. Maybe a child is 6 years old and he has a mental age of 8 to 10 years. That's a genius. But even when the mental age is 8 and the actual age is 8, it is still okay, rather than for mental age to be lower than the actual age. So all those things are very important, but some people don't know. They just want their children to finish school early, even whether they finish successfully or they finish unsuccessfully. So intellectual ability. Sorry, this system is the internet is warning me that this meeting will end in 10 minutes. I don't know. It happened like that in the last class I took too. So in case it ends, I will log in again. Hope you can hear me.
Ma. Okay, ma.
I don't know. I need to contact. Okay, I need to contact the ICT later. So
Okay, ma.
Yes, intellectual ability has to do with the ability of the child, the mental ability of a child. Can a child cope with the class he or she is? Does a child, you see, taking a child backward does not mean anything. So far, you want the child to perform well. If he cannot perform in a class where you have put him, as a parent, even as a teacher, you can advise the parents whether they take it in good faith or not. It is for the best. So we need to check the intellectual ability of a child and place the child accordingly so that there will be good results. Now, somebody should explain health and environment to us, how they are responsible for inequality of educational opportunity. Quickly. Nungala.
Yes, ma'am. The health status of a child could adversely affect the academic status of the child. When the child is always falling sick, for example, a sickle cell anemia patient, a child that is sickle cell anemia, you know, their sicknesses is always periodical and it's always coming off and on. And like when he's supposed to be in school and then he's on the sick bed, you don't expect that he's going to learn at that. Okay. Now, environmental factors, you definitely know that children that are in the remote area where there are access to educational system over there, I mean, children that are in remote area where there is no access to educational system, they will not have equal educational system with those that are in the urban centers. In the cities, education is everywhere. However it is, you see a child learning. No matter how bad the school is, you see that the child will definitely have access to educational system and he will be taught appropriately.
Thank you. I remember in those days, some people have to trek kilometers before they get to school in remote areas. Some trek 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers in the morning going to school, and they trek the same distance in the afternoon coming back. So in such a situation, a child can easily be discouraged. Anything could have even happened to such child on the way. The child can be a victim of kidnapping. The child can be a victim of road accident or anything on the way. So all those factors affect education in remote areas. So what are the efforts made to bridge the gap between the North and the South? What are the efforts? Or what do I even need to ask you? Is there any reason to bridge the gap? Is there any necessity for bridging any gap? Is there a gap? Is there a gap? Some people don't want to talk in this class, so Ariwodola, Ashiru, Bada, Joseph, you people should talk. Lasisi, Nze, Ogana, Oguja, you people should talk. Oma Muyowi, yes.
You can just refer to me as Foma.
Ifoma, thank you. You see, I'm having problem calling your name, pronouncing your name.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma. Well, to me, I think that the educational gap should be bridged because the children at those remote areas that are having difficulty to access education, they also need this privilege to better their lives, their family, and the community at large. You will see that these urban areas that have access to this education, they have access to development in the sense that when the children grows up, they becomes better people in the society. They in return develop their homes and bring more development to the society. But the reason why those are the rural areas don't have development is because those that comes from that areas, none of them are exposed enough to bring development to that community himself, because they end up being farmers, fishers, which cannot even develop their own families, not to talk about the community as large. So if these gaps are bridged, it can help to improve the life of the community, help to develop the community, and even bring more infrastructural structures to the community in the sense that they get exposed, they are educated, they know the values of education, and in return, it falls back to the society. So to me, I believe that this educational gap should be bridged in order to bring development to that society. Thank you.
Thank you. Abejide, you raised up your hand before.
Yes, I felt there is a gap. You were asking if there is actually a gap between the northern and south.
Okay.
So I think there is actually a gap because if we look down within, we discover that those at the south are more educated than those in the north. The northerns prefer that, or they have this culture, it is their culture, that female are not supposed to be educated, they are not supposed to be exposed. It is their culture and it is also affecting their education. And those are even males, they believe in their tradition in cattle rearing, or better still, the Islamic education that other than the Western education. So the gap between the South and the Northern education needs to be bridged. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are very correct. You know, Islamic education got to the North as early as 19th century. And so that is what they hold on to. That is what they believe more in. And because of that Islamic education, they resisted Western education. They resisted Western education to a large extent. When so many things had already started happening in the Southeast and Southwest concerning Western education, it was not happening over there. And that affects them even till today. We still have a very large number of people who are not educated, larger than what we have in the South. So what are governments doing? What is government doing? Government has introduced bursary and scholarship award to people who wants to, who are going to school, people who are in school. They, even in the North, you see, when a child chooses or when a parent chooses to send their ward to school over there, it is so easy. There is bursary from primary school even to PhD level. There is bursary that they can enjoy if they are ready to go, if you are ready to learn. Government is doing a lot, nationwide and even states. Like in the Southwest, some states are giving their citizens, their indigenes, certain stipends annually. scholarship, they give them. And we have some governments who have decided to even train some people up to university level.